Hi. We are doing part 2 of Get Your Belt On, and it's all about the breath. So the breath is your fuel. We really, really need to understand that. The first part we did on mindset and how your environment or practice space will play into that. So check that out if you haven't already. I've put the link in the comments in the little blurb. And that is part of what happens when we don't want other people to hear us, when we're nervous. We don't actually use our breath as fuel. We tend to hold it back and we tend to project to kind of hear. So we need to know where we're projecting to, and we need to have the breath behind it to deliver that. If you don't have the right fuel underneath your belt, you're gonna be screwed. No amount of anchoring or vowel shape changing are gonna help you. So it really needs to start from the breath. So I wanted to share a couple of things with you about how to use the breath for belting. You cannot hold on to it. We need a faster, more intense use of our breath to create this intense sound. And I see a lot of singers, particularly those that were taught in the classical tradition, and I was taught like to inhale, really expand into the ribs, keep the ribs as expanded as possible to control the release of air. And unfortunately, that is going to make it really hard to belt. We don't want to have this tiny, thin thread of air being released really, really slowly for belting. So I thought it would be useful to do a little demonstration to show you how my breath release changes when I sing with low intensity versus moderate intensity versus belting. So belting is the really big, powerful, I like to say like punch in the face. It's kind of an aggressive sound, you know, there's a lot of emotion behind it. So I'll demonstrate that. I'm gonna get you to watch my belly. So when I inhale, my belly expands because the diaphragm flattens on top of my digestive organs. I'm getting that deeper breath. Then the belly is going to move depending on how I release my air. So the abdominal muscles are not separate from my use of air. They're responding to how I'm using the breath. So that is so, so, so important. I should actually put a link to my breath support workshop, my free full-length breath support workshop, in case you're like, oh, that doesn't sound like what I'm doing, so that you can watch that and kind of get an idea about how this all works together. But I'm going to do a few different options of how I'm releasing my breath so you can see what's going on. So I'm going to do chandelier. I'm going to do it with low intensity. So this is what you would get if you do control the air, that slow kind of release. I'm gonna swing from the chandelier. You can see that my belly moves in slowly, right? What if I up the pace to a moderate pace? I'm gonna swing from the chandelier. So it adds intensity, right? But for belting, we need real intensity, like serious intensity. So we need a faster release, and this is how it looks. I'm gonna swing from the chandelier. So you can see that the belly responds differently. It really swings in quite quickly because, hey everyone, because I'm using the breath quicker. And we feel that when we like kind of call out to somebody. You can sense that when you cough, the belly should move in a similar way. But it's flexible. It's not that I'm yanking it in. The movement or pulling in of the belly is not me doing that to get power, which is what I used to think when I was younger. It's responding to your use of air. And this is, as I said, why we covered mindset to start with, because if you are nervous and you're not really wanting to be heard, you are going to hold your breath back. You're not going to want to share that, and you're not going to want to do it with total confidence, which is what belting requires. Even if you don't feel it, you've got to fake it. So that leads me to the second thing, is you really want to make sure that you have a clean onset. What I notice most of the time with belters is that they will do a harsh glottal onset. So the way that that sounds, if I do that same example, is this is not going to be pleasant. That kind of that starts it, which is telling you that the vocal cords are smacking together. You're bringing them together before the air has had a chance to help, right? So you want the breath and the voice happening at the same time, which is like this. You glide into it versus that real push from the throat. We want all the power to be from the connection of the breath and the vocal cords, not the vocal cords coming together without any fuel behind them. So hopefully you can hear the difference there. If you are working on a song that doesn't start with a vowel, like I'm doing I, so it's really clear, I can hear the onset because I've got the vowel. Whereas if you have a consonant, so if you're like, don't make me close one more door, I don't really know what the onset was like because I can't hear because of that D. It kind of masks it. So what I would love for you to do is drop the consonant and then go into that line so that you can hear whether or not you have this, oh, make me close, that real harsh sound, or, oh, make me close, which is that clean onset. You really want it to be clean. When you do a glottal, that harsh sound, you are fatiguing your voice every time you do that. I saw a singing teacher speak at a conference once, and she said it's like paying a little tax over and over and over again, and that really adds up if you're doing a gig across, 2, 3, 4 hours. So you want to be really careful that you're getting those clean onsets. And the last thing that I thought I would mention is really figure out how much breath you need. Really keep an eye on your inhale. So the inhale, before we do like a big belt section of a song, often we have this panic because we're like, oh my gosh, it's the big part of the song. So again, this goes back to mindset. And we tend to go and take this shallow, gaspy breath, which tightens all the way through the throat. And so for the song Chandelier, when I was working on it a number of years ago, I actually didn't go straight from the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, drink, and then into the I'm for a long time, because I needed to calm my inhale down and I needed to focus on how I was going to approach the belt section with ease and not get caught up in it needing to be this very, very quick transition. So this is getting back to the concept of deep practice, like practice it in a way that is going to train really good habits. So it might mean that you just dump that, a couple of lines so that you can prepare yourself and know that you've got a really good inhale and know that you've got the right amount of air in your body. So what I mean by that is, how much do you need for the line? Like, do you need 80%? Because a lot of the time people gasp in so much air, they think that they need all of this air, forgetting that the vocal cords are going to connect and resist that air. So it's not like it's all leaking out. They overload it. And so some of the time, it's actually a lot easier to sing with less air in the tank. You don't have this kind of weight. You're not dragging extra weight around. So I suggest that people test it out, take in 70 to 80% of your lung capacity, belt whatever it is that you're doing, and then try it again with, say, 40% of capacity. I find that most of the time I actually lean towards having less in the tank. It actually serves me better. So that is just a little snippet, 3 tips about the breath and with belting. So some of the sort of common mistakes that people make and some of the things that you're going to really want to listen out for and pay attention to so that you can get a strain-free belt, because I so want that for you. So if you've got any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you know a singer that would really benefit from hearing this, please like tag them, share, you know, spread the love. And I will see you next time for part 3.